Hi, welcome to the second section of the course. Previously, we went through the basics of Ember CLI. In this section, we'll learn how Ember.object works and how it can be used in our application. In this section, we will learn how to work with classes, instances, computed properties, Ember observers in Ember.js and bindings. We'll also learn how to use mixins and enumerals with arrays. Here is the first video of this section where we will learn how to work with classes and instances. We start by creating an Ember class and then create an instance for it. We then move to accessing properties within the bulb instance and initializing the Ember object. Finally, we will see how to reopen the class. In this video, we will work with classes and instances. Creating and extending classes is a major feature of the Ember object model. In this video, we'll take a look at how we can create and extend objects works. Cool, let's get started then. In order to do, we need to create our own module and import it in our project. Let's see how to do it. If you see in the atom editor, I have created a new file, myobject.js. When you click on it, you'll see the code for this file. This is the module which you can now import to any file in Ember application. Now you will see each code line by line. Let's begin by creating a very simple Ember class using extend. This defines a new light class with a property called isOn. Light inherits properties and behavior from the Ember object such as initializers, mixins and computed properties. Here's an important tip for Ember twiddle. At any point of time, you may need to test out small snippets of the Ember code. An easy way to do this is to use a website called Ember twiddle. Let's check it out. From this website, you can create an Ember application and run it in the browser as if you are using the Ember CLI. Here is the code with the output window next to it. You can even save and share it. It has similar tools such as JS Fiddle, but only for Ember. Once you have defined a class, you'll need to be able to create an instance of it. You can do this using the create method. We'll go ahead and create an instance of light. I've created one over here. Next, we will see accessing properties within the bulb instance. We can access the properties of the bulb object using the set and get accessor methods as shown here. It is one of the property of light class. Let's go ahead and get the isOn property of the light class. This code will get the isOn property from the bulb instance. Here we have added color as an isOn property. To change the isOn property, we can use the setAccessor method here by adding. The isOn property will now be set to true instead of false. Now we will see how to initialize the Ember object. The init method here is invoked whenever a new instance is created. This is a great place to put in any code that you may need for the new instance. In our example, we'll add an alert message as shown here that displays the default setting for the isOn property. As soon as the light.create line of code is executed, the instance will be created and the isOn property is defaulted to false message will pop up on the screen. We will now see what a subclass is. Be aware that you can create subclasses of your objects in Ember. You can override methods and access the parent class using the _super keyword method. This is done by creating a new object that uses the Ember extend method on the parent class. Another important thing is if you're subclassing a framework class such as Ember.component and you override the init method, you'll need to make sure that you call this _super method. If not, the component might not work properly. Now we will learn about reopening classes. At any time you can reopen a class and define new properties or methods in it. For this, use the reopen method as shown here. In our previous example, we had an isOn property. Let's reopen the same class and add a color property. To add the color property, we need to use the reopen method as shown here. If needed, you can add static methods or properties using reopen class, as I have done in this code. You can now access the static property light.wattage, as you can see here. In the previous examples, we created an Ember object using extend. This tells Ember to create a new Ember class. The extend method uses inheritance in the Ember.js framework. The light object inherits all the methods and bindings of the Ember object. The create method also inherits from the Ember object class and returns a new instance of this class. The bulb object is a new instance of the Ember object that we created. So this is entire code for my object.js. To use these previous examples, we can create our own module and import it into our project. To do this, create a new file in the app folder called myobject.js. This is a module that we can now import to any file in our Ember application. In the app folder, edit the app.js file. You'll need to add this line at the top of the file. At the bottom, before the export, add this line. This will execute the myObject function that we created in the myObject.js file. After running Ember server, you'll see the isOn property defaulted to a false pop-up message, and when we click on OK, we'll get a message which says, "Welcome to Ember." Nice! So now we know how to work with classes and instances.